Welcome to another unauthorized and rum-fueled treasure hunt in the sharky waters around the Gatsby Island with Queen Raae. And today our guest is the great and powerful Toril.
Hello, hello. So pleased to be here.
Oi, Lilian, nå må du gå.
One of our more unstructured beginnings.
Yeah.
I think I forgot to tweet as well, but I think you
Yeah.
tweeted, Ola, and
Yeah.
this is also going out on the Twitter.
You must
So if
retweet
anybody is watching, head on over to YouTube and join us in the chat.
Okay, so
Mhm.
I'm going to say something about Toril here. I have my little notes. You watching might not have seen Toril before, but she's an important reason the Queen gets her work done.
Yes, it is. Oh, you have to get into camera now, Ola, because I changed this up.
Monday mornings.
So how is that?
Monday mornings they have weekly planning, where Benedicte decides on 3 focus sessions, and then she has to scratch out one. Yes.
Yes.
Because I'm so mean.
Very strict. Because you're very strict, yes. And I think, some weeks that's the only reason I get anything done is because we have those weekly planning meetings. So I think the essence is to decide on what are the top 2 things I need to get done this week. And I did one this week, and then I bailed and I coded on POW instead.
Okay.
So yeah. But why is that so
It's going
important?
to be unpleasant on the Friday check-in tomorrow.
Yes, it will be. It will be. But why is it so important that we do this? And then we can get into coding, Ola. I promise. I'm gonna check out your code. I promise.
I think it's important because we have to fight our inner demons.
Well, that's true. That is true. Mm. Okay. So what are we? We're gonna code today, and we're gonna do some stuff that there's gonna be a lot of some times where I need to do things, and Ola will check in with Toril
Yes.
while I do those things.
And what are we doing? It's not love today, I think, maybe.
No, it's not love today, even though it is still Valentine's week. No, what are we doing today? I think I got tests running, the test setup running a couple of minutes before the stream. So we're going to go with our idea of adding tests to the POW site that you are creating. Because you have been creating, I'm using Markdown as our content management system, and I wanted the ability to make sections. And then I am thinking today I'm going to write some tests to make sure that I can write sections the way I want to. And so that I think it works now, because I think you did it correctly, but let's verify that with tests, and also so that we don't break the functionality down the line. And if we have time, we're also going to try to add some design system to the page so that it starts looking like an actual sales page. Yeah.
I just tweeted that we were going to add that. But that's
New
just added,
material UI.
That's just added benefits.
I mean, we'll see how fast this goes, because today, as you also wrote on Twitter, is a true YOLO session.
Yes.
So I have not tested out any of this before. But that is great, because we have a guest on that can entertain us while I try to figure out my mistakes.
Code fast.
Yes, code fast. So the what is tests, and why is to see that the sections are working in Markdown.
Yes, and also so that we don't break them down the line, because this is one of the first features we're adding, and then we're gonna, you're gonna do a lot of work, and it's important to see that in a couple of months it's still working like we expected to.
the sections, or
Yeah, the sections, and then we'll
Yeah.
add tests to other stuff.
I did have some
Um,
problems with the sections. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then I also thought, because now that we are collaborating on this code, that maybe I'll write tests and then you write the code that makes the test work. And then I don't have to go and check your code.
Uh,
Excellent idea.
I'll still give you a code review, but then like until the test's passed, like that will be your task instead of me trying to describe everything.
all right.
Okay. Yeah, let's see. Okay, I'm gonna move you off that screen. So when I look down like this, Toril, I am actually trying to have a look at the two of you. And then, okay, this is too small. And then feel free to jump in at any time. And
damn it.
again, I don't know if you've noticed this, Toril, because you might not do that as often, but
Yes.
Command plus doesn't make the letters bigger on Chrome anymore, which is quite annoying. Anyway, so I have already, because I think last week we were adding unit tests to the plugin starter that I've been working on, and I kind of showed you how to follow this tutorial from Gatsby on how to add tests. So I managed to do this pre-stream today, so you don't have to look at me doing all of that again. And then I copied this writing test. So I copied their default test, and let's see how we're doing after doing that. So you can see here, my tests are not passing. That is a lot of red. So our test so far, it's importing the page from the page that Ulla has made. So this is the code that Ulla has created, which is a one of these, we call them parrot pages, the file system route API. So for all markdown remark nodes, we'll create a page with this component. And I usually like to call the component something that makes sense. So markdown remark.
I just
page.
copy pasted it from graphical.
I know, that's what I do too. I find these all the time in my own code as well, because I forgot to like I mean, it still works. It's just like it's nicer down the line that it's got like clear naming. And then I see, and this is very common, I see when you're not that used to Git yet, I did this myself, is that you comment out code instead of deleting it because you want it to be there in case you need it later. But since this is on main, we have this code in the Git history, so let's just remove it.
Yeah.
So
good.
We
Take
we
it
don't
away.
have any unused code laying around. This is like tidying your house, Toril. You know, you got to get rid of the stuff before it starts giving you trouble. And then there's, as always, there is a query here to get the data we need for our page in Gatsby. And then we use that data up here. And that is where I got my first problem when I was doing these, when I set up the test right before the stream. I actually got an error that graphical didn't work. Our graphical query here had a problem. And that was because I'd skipped over a step by adding this kind of all these mocks that needs to be in place for Gatsby to work with tests. So I just copy pasted that from that tutorial I showed you, and then we were good to go. But then let's have a look at our code. So I would like to be able to just use this component and have it not fail. Like, I don't want it to just like fail even if I don't give it any data. I think that is what our first test is showing, is that what I try to do here is to just see if it actually is rendering. So I'm not that good with tests, so we'll try our best. So for this test, it's actually trying to take a snapshot. So it's just trying to take a picture of the component, and then next time you run the test, it's going to check against that picture of the component and see if anything has changed. And you can then say, yes, this is the change that I wanted, so use this new pictures going forward, or this is not a change that I expected, so I need to fix that. But we're not even getting there because it's failing completely. And if we have a little look at our code, it's kind of similar errors, that you might have seen before, Ola. Cannot read property markdown remark of undefined.
Yeah.
That's something you've seen before? Yeah.
Yes.
So that is because in this test, I'm not giving it any data. So with Gatsby, there will probably always be data, but it's nice to give it some default so that we, even if we're not giving any data, at least we're gonna like default it to an empty object. So let's see if we can get any further. So now we cannot destructure property front matter of data marked on remark as it's undefined. So our next thing is that the front matter is undefined. So here we are destructuring front matter and HTML from the data markdown remark. And since there is no markdown remark on data, both front matter and HTML are undefined. So when we're trying to destructure title and sections from the front matter, it's failing. So we can do another kind of default trick here where we say either get the data markdown remark or an empty object, and the same thing for the front matter.
But why is it not empty array?
Because the front matter is an object, it's not an array. So it will work with an array because an array is a special type of object. But since we are expecting a proper object, it's better to, like, we are expecting an object here, so let's make it an object. But objects and arrays are fun. They are confusing.
No, I like arrays a lot better than objects.
Yeah, but it's not an array. It's an object.
yeah, but objects are confusing.
Yeah, but it's an object, so we should ask for an object. So I've seen here before that you are saying object, you're saying arrays here and not. So let's see if I can make that fail as a test so that it needs to be fixed. But anyway, now we're actually getting a renders correctly. So we are actually, it's actually taken a photo kind of the component. And then if we write something here now, I think it's going to test and say that it's like a different, the snapshot, suddenly it has that text there. You know, do you want to update? Is that correct? No, we don't want to update. We want to remove this because that is not expected to be there. All we're saying now is that we're testing that it doesn't fail, and then it takes a picture of it that it can compare to next time. But we know some things that we want to happen. So now we can do a test where we actually give it data, maybe. So this is a test where we're not giving it renders correctly with no data. And then we can do it renders correctly with valid data. And then we want to make one that it renders correctly with invalid data, or just renders, I would say, renders with valid data. I think we can do expect not to fail, which is also probably what we're trying to do. So data. So let me write these tests while you two chat, Ola.
Yes. So I'm thinking maybe we should look at your plug right away, Toril.
I just find it so satisfying watching programming happening here.
Yes.
It's kind of meditative.
It's very good for me too, because you know I'm working with this code every day, and now stuff is just happening here. That's nice.
Yes. I think I like this better than decluttering my house.
Yeah, I do.
Just come back and look at all the live streams.
Yeah. Yeah. Should we
you want to pull up the...
I can pull it up. Oh my god.
Yeah, add that to the stream and I can code a little bit behind the scenes here.
Vad sa du, Lilla? Du bråker. Här. Okay. Can I go up and down? I'm all the way on the bottom.
I'm a bit offended you cut my head off.
Your head is gone? No?
It's like usual me. Just body, no brains.
But your head is gone. It's not. I didn't do that.
How,
There it
how
is.
wide is
Oh,
your
I
screen?
did it. It was me. It was me. Oh no.
Thanks.
There you are in the
Yeah.
middle of the mountains.
Yes, it's me and my colleague Kaja Vik. I was very clever and hired myself a CEO so I could do the creative work and she can do the boring stuff. So
Yes.
everyone should do that.
Yes.
It's highly recommended.
So, what is this here? Creative fears.
I look at creative fears as a group of highly ambitious but very down to earth creative small business owners. So it's people making hand sewn clothes for outdoor hikes and stuff. And we have people working as interior consultants, we have programmers, we have online course people, of course, they're all over the internet, right? And just lots of different people and small businesses, and many of whom work from home or from a co-working space. And we meet several times a week to have focused work times. So we have a kind of digital co-working, and then we have weekly planning and a Friday evaluation. So on Fridays we have an invoicing happy hour where we meet and do the boring admin stuff, and the not so boring getting paid for stuff. And after that we have a social chat and just exchange some experiences. So that's a short pitch, I guess.
It says here drinking on Friday.
Yeah.
We
Sometimes
like that.
it's just my cup of tea, but sometimes it's something else.
Skål.
Cheers.
Yes.
Skål.
Cheers. So Benedicte.
I only have water today. Can you send the princess down with one of those bubbly waters?
Lilian, har du lyst til å gi sprudlevann til mamma? Det betyr at du må gå ned.
That's the best Norwegian word. Sprudlevann.
Well,
Yeah.
I have some bad news. The computer says no.
The princess says no.
Yes.
Okay then.
Yes, but
you need to run a new test, Ola.
Yes. She's making hama beads, perler. She's making a heart.
Okay.
But yeah, so on Mondays, you sit down like we do now, like you're actually like live, and everybody's planning out these very invisible focus sessions that you can't see here, but yes, focus session.
Yes.
There you go, focus session. And then on Friday, you have to say, no, I didn't do it.
Yeah, that's very embarrassing.
But do you have to, or can you just forget to say it? Oh, I did forget to do it, but I also forget to say it. Can you do that, if you know what I'm saying?
I do think
we mostly... Sorry, I just want to say, because we do it in our little notebooks. So...
Yeah, you're allowed to lie to yourself, kind of.
But you don't have to say it in front of everyone if you don't want to, but you have to like write it in your book.
Okay, I like it. I like book.
How did the week go?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, no, we're not. I'm joking about that, but we're not about shaming people. I think people can put enough pressure on themselves for not doing work or not doing work at the standard or quality they expect. So I think that's enough for one person. So we try to have an encouraging environment, but also help with a framework where you can self-evaluate and improve over time. So you can start some new great working habits. And if you rely on other people and accountability from the group, you're not that vulnerable. If you have a bad day and you wake up in the morning and just feel like all your energy is already depleted, even if it's 8 o'clock. So you can actually get some energy from working in a group as well. So we borrow energy from each other in a way.
Oh, so when it says here, focus session, you're kind of, why is it so, there you go. Then you kind of working together.
Yes. So a focus session is a digital co-working session. So everyone shows up and we're each other's focus mates.
Okay.
So if I'm feeling one day that, oh, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
This is hard, or I have a task that I've procrastinated on, or I'm just not feeling it, then I can still come to the focus session. And when we start, we tell each other, I'll be working on this specific task. And kind of magically, we get inspired to work on that thing, concentrated without distractions for 90 minutes. And so if I'm not feeling it today, I can still knock it out of the park if I just show up for that digital co-working session, because the group will help me to get that focus and concentration and motivation I need to get started. And when I get started, it's much easier to keep going and complete the task. So it's
That
very
is
simple, but this is actually research based.
that is
So
great.
we try to have a framework for creative people, and we have a lot of people with ADHD. We have people that have worked for themselves for a long time and are not used to having colleagues, but they like being in a more social environment. But we also have people in a regular day job that come
Yeah.
to get their get this productivity boost.
It's kind of the opposite of a meeting.
Yes, it's the opposite of a
I
meeting.
I talked to it's very interesting, but I didn't think of it like that. But I talked. I'm sorry. I'm going to tell a story
It's
about
an
myself.
unmeeting.
Yes, I'm going to tell a story about myself because I talked to an old friend yesterday. He lives in Utah in the USA, and we talked about stuff, and then and he told me about a job he had some years back, which he didn't like, and I was like, okay, so what happened? And he was like, there was so many meetings. And then that's all he needed to say. I was like, yeah.
Yeah. So what happened?
I couldn't hear you now. I think you're muted, Torgeir.
Your mute's already suddenly muted.
I didn't do it. Yes, you're back.
Yeah, it's my microphone.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so
What were
he
you
probably
saying?
got tolerant. He got unemployable at some point.
Who?
His tolerance level for meetings dropped drastically.
Who
I
are you
think you're on
talking
the
about?
wrong mic now. I think your mic changed up.
Oh,
I'll fix that. You go program. I'll fix that.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
But that's I love this thing here. I can talk
Back.
then. I love this thing. It's
There
the
you're back.
opposite of a meeting. You actually get stuff done that you want to do, whereas in a meeting you don't get anything done, and then when you're done with the meeting, you're super tired because not only have you been like wasting time, but you've been, trying to listen to people talk about stuff that's totally uninteresting, and it's just, yeah, that's great. The opposite of a meeting. Wow.
Yeah, I
What a
think I'm going
concept.
to start calling it an unmeeting. So
Yeah,
a meeting would be a task collector. You always get stuff that you need to do at a later
Yeah.
point,
Yes.
but then you don't have any energy left because you were in a meeting, and meetings are very
Yeah.
tiresome.
But
And here
there is
you just
yes.
you can just slay all your tasks.
And there's also one more angle here that I love, because you see here on this page that we're sharing, it's like a calendar. So I can actually put it in my calendar. And when people say, dude, I want you to come in the meeting on Tuesday at 10. And I'm like, I'm booked.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a pretend meeting.
Well,
So
you are
you're
booked.
pretending you're in a meeting, but you're actually doing stuff.
You are booked. Yeah. You are booked.
Yeah.
You can't go to the meeting. You should, yeah. So well, you need to do something about the Wednesday and Thursday here, because then suddenly meetings can pop up.
Yeah, you're just showing now the Norwegian speaking sessions.
Okay. So
And then we have sessions every day in English later in the day.
okay.
That works for the UK and the US. And then we have sessions during nighttime. So we
Yes.
have someone in Australia that do the Australian time sessions.
Oh, good.
So, yeah.
That is good. That is good. So how are you
Okay,
doing
I'm
then,
trying
Benedicta? Are
to-
you ready?
I don't know. Testing is
She was in a meeting.
something I need to be better at. So that's why we're doing this, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna pull up my
You
thing
are.
again. So
Okay.
I am trying to figure out a way to test that we get the correct kind of HTML structure back. So what I've asked of you is that I will be able to write sections
Yeah.
like so, where that's the title of the page, but then I can have sections that has a title and then a body that's coming from a different file and then a CTA. And then I wanted these titles to be H2 and I wanted each sections to be a section. So now I'm trying to test and creating here a page with data that has the page title and then sections with title and then body and CTA. And I want to test that there are actual, so this is one section, that there is one section coming back and one H2 with the like section title as its content. But I am not 100% sure how to do that. So now I am looking at this article here. So I can create a component and then I can ask for the root and then I can find by type. So I guess that correctly. So I do find by type H2. But now I want to do section headings. I want to do find all by type, I think. No, let's do one. So section heading, find by type. And then I want that to be, but I don't want the whole thing to be, I want it to be, so I want the thing and then not props. Like, how do I get the content? Like, I want it to at least be an error. Like, I want there to be at least B1. So I want it to exist. And then I want to check that it has the correct content. But how do I get the content? Because how I can get the
Pardon
class
my
name.
French, but this seems overly complicated to me.
Well, testing is in the beginning always a little complicated to get right. It's a different kind of, but let's see here. Fiber. Can I get the actual content in here some way? Maybe I
No.
can't get the content. H2.
But this is all just weird stuff.
Yeah, but I want to try to like get the content of it so that I can check to see if it's correct, because then I want to write a negative case that shows that it works if there is nothing in there. But this is harder than I thought, of course. Well, at least we're not getting no instance and found, because that means it wouldn't be any of them. Button group, expect received. Let's see. The test has 3 steps. Add some nodes with some type, div, once you change the file, whether test runs the test again and receive an updated message, expected button group and received undefined, yes. But I don't want to check the class name. I want to check the actual content. Can I not do that? Oh, I can test children. Child. So this is the text. Oh, I found it.
Yeah.
It's props children.
Yes.
So props children, then to equal, I think I can do B, to be section title.
Okay.
Because that's what I want the H2 to be. Huh. Look at that. Now it passed.
Whoa.
Yay!
It's green. It's green.
I mean, testing is one of those hacks, kind of like creative fears and everything. Like you get that dopamine rush that you did something, you solve it. It's like checking. It's the same thing with lists. Like on Friday when I've done my task, and I can give that a big check with my fat marker so that it looks really good. Then I know. So I guess we could also do then const section headings and make sure that it's only one, since we only have one section here. We could do that, but let's do two sections. We always want to test with two things when we do testing. It's always nice to have a little bit of change. So section 1, section 2, then if we do find all by type, then that is sections heading. So then section heading 1 should be section title 1, and then section heading should be section heading 2. So this is probably funny for you, Toril, if you've done some coding where it's the 0th element is our section title 1, and then and we're still passing, so that's good.
Yes.
And then let's see if we could break it. So, and then I'll have to do some checks for it. Actually, I won't do like these specific tests. I would probably just check to see if there's two section elements, because I think I could do, like if we just do sections and we find root by element section, then I can check that the length of that is 2. So I expect there to be 2 sections. Like that would be the easy first test. Like sections length to be 2. Okay. Let's see, it's still passing. But now the more interesting case to see if you've done this correctly, Ola, is that we're gonna mess up the data and see to it that it doesn't crash.
Yes.
And it still does like renders best effort with invalid data. So if somebody does something wrong in the markdown, like at least I feel a lot of with content, it's better that the code is very lenient and lets you do mistakes, and then you see those mistakes. It depends though. If it's like a really important mistake, then we don't want the site to rebuild. But most of these things, it's like if you're missing a title, it's still like this page, the changes should still rebuild the site. So this is up to each case, of course. But I often like my code to be pretty lenient so that even though I want there to be a subheading, if somebody don't create a subheading, the whole page won't crash, because then the people writing the content, which in the future is me, and I don't have time to create a subheading, then it's better to have the page look a little weird than to just like break down completely. So let's do one without a CTA. And then let's do one without a body. And we should still get our section 1 and our section 2, so it shouldn't fail. We should still have 2 section lengths. Let's see. Oh, look at that, it failed.
1 total.
And that's because we now have body and child markdown remark. So you can see you've added that empty kind of
Yeah.
array there that should be an object, but also,
Yes.
but still, we are we're one level further down. So this would work if we were just asking for the body, but it won't work if we're asking for the section body, child, markdown, remark.
Okay. So we need to destructure it more and more and more.
Yeah, so I would do title body from the section, and then also give the section an empty object, and then we get the HTML from the body child, or we could destructure it again just to do it the same way the whole time. So we get the child markdown remark from body, and then we get the HTML from child remark.
Yeah.
Like that.
Why isn't that getting? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's an
Let's
array.
see if it. Yeah. So let's see if no,
Yes.
it's not. But let's see if it works with an array, because I don't. Well, it might. Like, I still got confused over arrays, how the arrays work under the hood. So it looks like we're getting no, we're not getting an error, but we are getting a warning here that each child in a list should have a unique property. So let's do that. The section. So this is a React thing that since this is an array of sections, each section needs to have a unique ID. And in this case, they don't really have unique IDs, because we could have a section that has the same title twice. So in that case, we often just use the index for the key. Okay, so this looks good. But let's test one where we test if this array thing actually works. Well, we are, because we're doing HTML on child markdown remark. So it does work, Ulla, but since they are supposed to be objects, we want them as objects.
He jumped overboard.
I was
He jumped
sorry.
over.
I was distracted by the princess here.
Yeah.
It did work with the arrays, but you want them to be objects, even though objects are evil.
Objects are not evil. Objects are one of the most important parts of JavaScript. So
If you have to say that something is not evil, it's a very bad sign. It's a very bad sign.
Well, at least now we have tests where, invalid data works. So
Yes.
we can do some more fun invalid data. So we could have one that, if there is no path and only label, should CTA then show? We expect it now to be 3 sections, but do we want to see, because if there is no path.
Wait a minute. Did you say if there is a label but no path? Or yeah, that's what you're saying. Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that very bad?
Yeah, exactly. That is quite bad. So I don't know if we can do this nested. So let's see now on our third section, even though we have a label, we don't want there to be an actual link happening, because if there is no path, we don't want there to be a link, which is how you've done it. But let's test it. So let's make it wrong first, and then see if we can make a test to get that error. So now we need to look for, I guess. So in section 3, we need to, let's see. Can we define all by type in a section? Let's see. Const. So no. Let's see. CTA section 3. Let's see if we can do that. Sections. So for section 2, find all by type. And then we need link, I guess. How do we check for actual components and not just divs? Test renderer. Subcomponent.
I think you need to put a toddler in there. You have a child.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just...
Oh, Krister is here. Hey,
Hello.
Krister. We are adding tests to the new POW marketing site to make sure that Ola's section code is working and will keep working, and he'll bring the toddler. They are new
I'll bring the
parents.
toddler. He has a toddler. That's true.
So Krister is a fellow Norwegian, Toril, who does game development. So we have also been talking about how I do weekly planning with Toril every Friday, and then a weekly check-in weekly planning every Monday, and then a check-in every Friday about how that plan went. And then we also do focus sessions together at several times during the week. And we plugged that earlier, but Ola, you can bring that up again on.
We developed
screen
an
for
on
Krister.
meeting, which was fun.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get that into the code as well.
Yeah, that would be great. No
Yeah.
meeting.
I'm sorry. I'm
How
trying
do
to
I
write it
check
at the YouTube. Yes, I did it. I did it. I wrote there.
But were you gonna show the Creative Fierce page again,
Yeah.
Ola? And I'll see if I can find out how to test for this.
I'm just amazed at how much programming has changed since I, as you probably know, I was in a small software startup back in 2004. And we tried to convince people that it was a good idea to have this website where you can run a program or an app. And yeah, back in the day where Norwegian students and pupils didn't have computers at school and not at home either. And to this, where we put toddlers in the code.
Yes. So, Krister, what's going on, man? He's got a little toddler, and they just moved, but I can't remember now. Is it Horten?
I think it's quite some time ago.
Do you have some people down there, Toril, in the Horten area?
I grew up in Rygge in Moss, so I was looking over to Horten a lot.
Oh, yes.
Sandefjord.
Sandefjord, that's not Horten.
You have to watch out for people in chinos during summer then. Sandefjord is a dangerous place.
Yeah, chinos, is that like some kind of pants?
Yeah, some kind of pants. Enough about that.
He says,
Enough about
oh,
that.
they were in Horten. Look at this. We were in Horten for a while, so your memory isn't bad. And also he says, Carlin just turned 16 months today. Wow, time flies.
Has it been that? Yeah, time flies. Oh my!
Whoa,
Now
whoa.
next time you're in Oslo, you gotta come knocking.
Yes.
Okay, I am not figuring this out. Let's
But
see.
when
Can we watch you struggle?
You want us to say something about this focus acts?
Yeah, I just wanted Krister to see it, because it could be something for their small business to have some weekly planning and check-ins with other small business owners, like myself. Could always be fun to have some more programmers there, even though one of the things I really enjoy is that we are such a wide variety of backgrounds and businesses, because a lot of the business stuff, how to get things done, how to prioritize, how to make sure you're working on what's important long term, is stuff that is something all business, like everyone who runs their own business or life, I guess, needs to could need some help on. And it doesn't, like, the other people don't have to be programmers as well. And I really like seeing that we can have similar solutions, even though we are in totally different fields. That is a lot of fun. Just, yeah. Often I feel more things in common with other small business owners than I sometimes do with people I studied with, who have gone on to do they're also coders, but they are coders in a totally different environment. So yeah.
Yeah, and it becomes less competitive when people do different things.
Yeah.
It's more of
Yeah, I
a
guess.
supportive, and people are curious and interested what others work on. So I find it personally quite inspiring to be in there as well, even though I know I'm leading the group, but that's one of the fun things, I think. You can
Absolutely.
pick some ideas from other people in other fields. We have
Yeah.
Inesa here as well.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
one of
that's
our
right.
good friends. And Inessa just moved to Canada.
Hello, is that not
Ooh.
totally secret?
Oh, is that totally secret?
I don't know. I don't know. Not anymore.
Out there.
Hello,
I hope
Inessa.
not. So since Inessa just jumped in as well, we're trying to add tests to Ola's Markdown page component. And I am learning as we go along, as
He's-
we often do. It's okay. It's not secret.
It's not secret. Well, he couldn't say anything else now, could he? Lol.
Lol. Okay, so back to my code then. I'm gonna add myself back to this stream. Maybe Ines has done some testing. I'm trying to figure out a way to test.
Can I say one thing first about Krister? I just
Sure,
remembered.
go ahead.
So because Krister has this Discord for game developers, and it's just like you say, Turil, because I go in there and they're all developing games, and then I get so inspired because it's different. It's so different, and yeah, it's true. It's true.
Yeah, that is a fun Discord to be in. People, I always like when I sit and code and then I see people coding games, I'm like, they are on a different planet skill level. It's I mean, it's amazing. To be empty. Can I say to be empty?
No.
How do I check if something is undefined with or not undefined with just check if undefined.
Krister says, I'm going to read now. I actually know Krister's voice, but I can't do it, so I'll just read it in my voice. Yeah, great to have a place to share resources, share our struggles, etc. So that is a little bit kind of what you do then, Turil. Lonely games are hard. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
Is there
I don't know. My 12-year-old thinks he can program games, so
yes,
I don't know.
Why not? Why not?
It's overrated.
He should start at 12. It's great. That's what Bill Gates did. Look at him now. Look at him.
He just started his own.
Okay, I
channel
managed to
when he
figure it
decided
out. I managed to figure it out, everyone. Okay, so what I want to do here with our section test is that we want there, if there's no path, we don't want it to give us a CTA because that would be bad. That would just be an empty link.
Yes.
So I did, and it looks like you can actually nest into other. So here I did sections, find all by type, and then I did sections heading, find all by type H2. But I could also go into a specific section and then do find by type. So I go into section 1 and I look for a link element. And then I go into section 3 and I look for a link element. And in section 1, I want it to be defined. I want there to be something there. We could obviously also check to see if it's the correct data. But I mean, how specific your test needs to be is up to use case, any use case. So here I'm just going to check to see that it's actually a link there. But in section 3, I want it to not be a link, so to be undefined. And since I removed Ula's clever code, we are actually getting a failing test. And now we're going to add back Ula's code where it's actually checking for path before it creates a link. And then I think our code should work again, or not. Huh? Section 0, find by type. Did I not have a CTA in section 0? Oh, excuse me. I shouldn't have any there either. It's in section 2 I am giving a CTA. So look at that. So let's see, section 2, section 1. So in section 2, I want it to be defined, but in section 3, I want it to be undefined.
Inessa says, great to start them while young. So I'm thinking about that all the time with Lillian. Every time we do something that is remotely close to skill building, I'm thinking ahead, this
doesn't work. This doesn't work because find by type when it doesn't exist breaks.
But I must say to you, Toril, I'm going to look at this here tomorrow, and I'm going to be just like you said. I wake up, I go up, I start working, and then I'm totally empty of energy because I'm like, this is way too complicated for me. How am I going to get anything done now? Yeah. Hopefully not.
So actually we need to check to see if it's throwing, and we did that last week. We need to check that it's throwing an error. So we need to check to throw, and then we had to be good and make a little we had to be clever when we did that. We need to make a function that uses the function we want to test. So let's see if we can make that happen.
Octopus.
So
this is like the party section. Function.
Yeah, this is the drink section. So okay, we want that to be defined, and then we want to have a const check for CTA in section 3. Oh boy, this gets complicated fast.
Yes. Uh-oh.
And then we do expect check for section to throw, because it should throw an error. See if we get a passing test now.
No.
Well, I am, but that's what I'm asking for. Oh boy. Okay, everyone chat amongst yourselves.
Is that me? You mean me?
Yes, I mean you.
So how about your
like
summer camp? Hello?
Oh no, sorry. I wasn't supposed to run it. Okay, there we go. Okay.
That was short chatting.
Yes.
Super quick problem solving.
So now we actually have a test here that makes sure that it renders correctly with no data, and it actually takes a snapshot. And then I would like to have another I want to have another test that takes a snapshot with some data. And then we want to make sure that we have the correct some of the correct data. And let's call that renders. Let's say just renders with no data. I'm actually checking to see if it renders correctly, because we're just taking a snapshot. And then we want to do another snapshot with renders with data. And then we check the snapshot. So let's do some data there as well. Let's do this. What is every? Yeah, well, I was disappointed that it works. What was your, because you didn't get to chat amongst yourselves?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, now I'm just copy pasting too much. It's getting late. But fun fact, Ola, Krister is the reason I live stream.
Oh yes.
Ooh.
How?
He is the reason I live stream, because I was doing videos, and then I think he was like, well, and they live stream. So they live streamed every Saturday for a long time, game development with a little camera of their dogs. And it's like super, super great streams. And I had a chat with him about how to stream, and that I should stream.
So what
I don't
did
remember
he say?
why. Why did you think I should stream, Krister?
What did he say to you then?
Because
gave
that
me
would
some
be
tips.
epic.
Yes, because that would be epic.
Clearly.
Great. Well, we talked about. Oh, now it wants to update my computer. We
Don't do
talked
that.
about. We talked about how I don't know if him and I remember starting streaming to keep myself accountable. So on the same topic as you're being here with
Yeah.
creative fears and everything, just having somebody like expecting you to show up and code makes you show up and code even though you're like feeling bad or you don't want to or whatever. But I remember you giving me some good tips, and one was that I should select one platform. So we are not streaming on Twitch, we are streaming on YouTube, because I was already on YouTube. And if you stream to both, then some people will be chatting on Twitch and some people would be chatting on YouTube. So I'm guessing that I would recommend Twitch, but since I was already on YouTube and I was like, I don't want more platforms, I just started streaming on YouTube. So the conversation is all on YouTube. And then I had the notes somewhere. I should find the notes. There was lots of notes about like audio and how to interact with the chat and just like it's doable. He just made me think it was doable.
But
yeah, editing and then also editing videos is a pain. That's true.
That is true. And but here he says gives you a great place to focus and have fun with work. And you kind of like having fun with work, don't you, Benedicta?
Oh, I absolutely do.
Yes, and because it's interesting because I had been trying for years to try to get you to do stuff live, and you didn't like it.
Somebody else had to tell me.
Yeah, but no. I don't think that I don't think his secret here is that he told you. The secret is that he did it, and you could see that he was having fun, and that's obviously a lot better than saying it. Yeah. So yeah.
And I also like the aspect where you kind of show up and you have a little bit of a plan, but it's not a rehearsed talk or a rehearsed thing where everything has to be like planned and rehearsed, because then you have to do then you take the time that you would for editing and you just take it into planning. So with streaming, you kind of you have to be on point. I can't check social media right now. Like I have to code or talk to you then. Like in the beginning, I streamed on my own. But for me, I think I was scared. I was so scared of coding live. It felt like I would expose, what I knew and didn't know.
Yes, that's true.
And I realized when I first did it that I could do it fairly well, and it's gotten easier and easier to be like, well, I don't know. I don't know this. Like I just have to own it and be good with that.
I have tried to practice with Benedicta for years also. Before sales meetings and stuff, we practice, and she's like, you can tell that she hates it. She hates preparing and practicing. And
that's because she's a queen. She needs an audience, and then she will perform.
Yes.
Simple.
True that.
But you had so many arguments, Ola, when you wanted me to come on and be a guest, and you had this list of arguments and good reasons why I should join, and I was like, but it sounds like fun. I'll come, and you were like, but I have a list.
Oh, okay. We've talked so much that we didn't get to that second part, which is actually what you think we shouldn't do several things at once in our streams, Ola. And we're working on. So I ended up. This is so funny because we also wanted to on a little bit because she is one of our customers of POW, which we are working on, and all we've seen of content is page title, section title. So we should probably we could have a little tiny chat about that in the end, because we are working on, or Ula is working on replacing our don't tell anyone, it's a secret, Squarespace marketing site for POW. The actual application is created with Gatsby, of course, but then for time reasons I created the marketing page in Squarespace, and now we're moving that over to Gatsby. to have more control, and also not have to pay Squarespace, also to get more practice with Gatsby, and because we can control more of the tracking. So the application itself doesn't track anything, and I've turned on all I can in Squarespace, but it still does a little bit of tracking who visits the site. So we get more control over everything when we redo it in Gatsby.
But-
So that is kind of the work. And the first task
But-
Ola got was to create this
Yeah.
markdown page where we can have these sections, so that I can have, like, we can redo these sections. So that's the first task, basic section, and then you're going to do
Yeah.
the newsletter section, and then we'll create this like middle. It probably won't look exactly like this, but like recreate this middle section in some way.
Yes. And the friend I talked about earlier, Jed from Utah, he's a UX professional. So I actually had him look at the website and I'm not going to say what he said because I need to work on my notes. But I have lots of notes. Oh,
You can't read and talk at the same time, Ola.
I'm not reading it. I'm just showing it
Well,
off.
I think we were looking at.
But where
Yeah.
can you find game coding live streams? You know, Toril, you know what you should do?
Christer's game coding live streams, to be specific.
You know,
It's Snooty Land on Twitch.
you should go to the Discord, because in Snootyland Discord, Christer's Discord, there are lots of people doing game live coding of the people that are in the Discord.
I'm
And some
fine
do
with
videos.
Discord, but I'm not doing Twitch, not another platform.
No, I'm not saying
No,
that you
but
should do
you're-
it. You should send that pesky dragon.
Yeah, send
Yeah.
a Pesky Dragon to Twitch,
It's-
and it's Snooty Land on Twitter and on Twitch.
It's a great
Cool.
no Discord.
Cool.
It's very good. Twitter is evil. Twitter
I
is
hear
evil.
you.
But Discord is not
Uh-huh.
evil, because all
Not
the people
Twitter, Twitch.
Twitch, I don't know about Twitch. I never tried it. But Twitter is evil, but Discord is not, because I've been in this Discord many times, and there's only super nice people there, and nobody comes with any bullshit. But on Twitter, there's bullshit all the time.
Okay, so
Oh.
Krister says that Snooty HQ on Twitch, and then it's Snooty. The Discord is Snooty Land, and there are some younger people there. There are some 14-year-olds I've seen in the Snooty Land Discord. So it's a very wide range of ages. there.
And it is good to hang out with older, nice people who also do the stuff that you're doing. You know,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Krister is very good at giving the young ones some great and sound advice. I've seen
Yes.
it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And
it's
they
an
all support each
inspirational
other.
place.
Huh?
Yeah.
I'm sure.
so
it's
back
an
to,
inspirational place.
We are
you
then
tried to
we're
say
trying
page.
Yes.
back to the sales page, because we're also then working on
yeah.
now. So first rule of refactoring or porting is do not change anything. So
Yes.
in the Ola is not allowed to change the copy while working on porting it. But when the port is done, we will be looking to revamp this marketing page, and we're trying to hone in on a benefit or a hell yeah when you read this page. I
Heck
want that.
yeah.
Heck
Heck
yeah. Okay.
That is
I just
more-
swore on YouTube. I hope
Yes.
we don't get booted off.
But I kind of promised Toril that we would not ask the question of her.
Okay. I'm asking the chat
I was
then.
semi-prepared to live write
Yeah.
the copy for this page now.
Yeah. But if you feel like it, you just go ahead. But I'm not going to put you on the spot.
I always feel like live writing copy.
Yes.
Yeah, is it true or is
Yeah,
it
yes,
ironic?
That's
Yeah.
true. Not ironic. Yeah. Yeah, so the
Well,
benefits.
maybe we should have you back on and do actually live write this copy.
No,
But yeah, go
she's
ahead.
ready now. She's doing it.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go. I have my pen here
Let's
and
go.
I have my book here. I'm ready. Do you
Yeah.
recognize this book that I will write in, Toril?
Ah, this one?
Yes.
I have one of those as well.
One? I have almost 10, I think.
Well, I do too.
I have
Okay, I'm
10 as
ready.
well, but you
Okay,
know.
now this
Yeah.
has turned into a party,
Yes.
It's a book party.
which is like, oh, it's a book party. Okay.
I'm ready.
Yeah. So if we start with the headline, I think
This one?
since biology is a big component of this, maybe it feels like it's a too like grand promise that you can actually take control of the cycle itself, but maybe we can still promise something grand like plan your work or your life around your period or your menstrual cycle.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm not sure if people
Mm.
call it the menstrual cycle or just period.
Oh, I've tried to research that, and that is very culturally different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
So
think
I tried to use the most like health version of it, like
Mhm.
because I tried to Google period, which is what I learned that it's called in English, and it's that is I think that was just like some English speaking countries. Anyway, that was not your point.
Well,
plan your
that
work.
was kind of my point because
Okay.
it's important in copy to use the same word that your customers would use.
Yes. Okay.
So
Yeah. Yes. I
yeah,
like
so
that.
if you're in Norway, you wouldn't say menstruasjonssyklus, you
No.
would say mensen.
Mm-hmm.
And so it needs to somehow be targeted to the group that you're talking most to. So if you have different sites for different user groups or geographics, maybe you could change what they see. So if you
It
have
is.
Scandinavian visitors,
Yeah.
they will see
Yeah.
mensen or period, and then you can have other words if you come from another
That's
culture
totally
or
doable with
thing.
Gatsby to have
Yeah, you have a
different.
challenge there, Oda.
But no, I don't think I'm up to that actually because I heard people who really are good at that
It's
kind of
not
thing.
very doable. It's not
No.
very doable.
Yes, it's
Right.
doable, but not for me.
It's doable if you have a team of internationalization experts. It's
Yes.
absolutely.
but why be
And Chris said,
unambitious?
read the chat because he was
Yeah.
giving that same advice.
Put it up. Put
Make
it up.
it change the wording depending on where in the world you access the site from. Yes.
There it is. Yes.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
I think maybe
Yeah.
for in our first iteration of this, I think as I said underneath is that I just use cycle because then, as you said, focus on plan your life or work around, and then you often would say cycle because you're not planning it around those few days that it's like the actual period. You're planning it around the whole cycle. And I've read more now that I've
Yeah.
read more. It's like I hear people even in Norwegian just using that cycle word. So I think that could work. I just need to get all of the other words in here somewhere for search engine optimization.
Can I can I add my 2 cents here? So I'm not gonna get into the technicalities here at all. For me, it's the pain. What's the pain here?
Yeah, why do we want to plan our lives
What's
this?
what's the pain here? And I have my own kind of problems with this, but still, it's very vague. It's very vague for me. The whole thing is a bit confusing and very vague.
But isn't this very in line with what the app itself does? Because at different stages or times of the month, you will have a different problem.
Yes,
And so,
confusing.
yeah.
Good one.
So, yeah. And so maybe you could use some visuals or graphics to illustrate
Yes.
that it will solve different problems for you at different times.
Yes.
Oh, I
And
like
also
this.
different, yeah, and also different, it's almost like maybe you could use some kind of gradient or some way to illustrate that, yeah, that change through the cycle. And also you will have a very different benefit from using POW if you're, for example, trying to get pregnant or trying not to get pregnant.
Yeah.
If you're approaching menopause,
Yeah.
if you, for example, have taken the COVID vaccine, now we're probably going to get thrown off YouTube Live again, but you
Yeah.
know, there has been some
Yeah.
studies that a lot of women have experienced
Yeah.
irregularities
I
after
think.
especially one
Yeah.
Yeah.
vaccine, and then of course you will need to track things
Yeah.
more, or you can discover that things are out of the regular cycle.
Yeah. And so coming from a outside here in a way, I would say that actually the answer to all the things we had here is that pick one. So, okay, say yes or no to Scandinavia, or just pick a country for the naming. And then, like you said, there are different problems here for different kind of situations or life or something. Pick one, pick one. And that's a very American kind of thing. And also with the month, you have different kind of roller coaster ride things on the month. Okay, pick one of them. When are you kind of you kind of on the top of the roller coaster and just down, and you can just see down there, hey, the tracks are gone, man. Why is there a big gap in the tracks down there? And or something or something. So that's very American. That's very American. To
But
pick
it's
one.
one question I really want to hear
Yes.
Benedicte's answer to, and that
Yes.
is if you want Pau to answer the same question as every other menstrual cycle tracking app, and that is when will I get my next period? Because
Yeah.
that's like the single thing that everyone else is
Yes.
trying
Yes.
to tell you. And
I
so
feel
in
like
my as a
I
user,
yeah,
I
yeah.
feel that you have another mission than just telling me it's 7 days until your period starts and you're going to be grumpy in 2 days.
Yeah. No, it's I want, and of course we're not there yet, but I want it to be different in the way that it's more focused on kind of the preparing and planning.
Okay.
Like you mentioned with planning your work.
Yes.
Um, because I feel like you said, a lot of the others are very like you log all these things and all they give you is that, like, when is your period coming? But it doesn't, and they often hide what you log. It's just like little, just like a colored dot, and it's the same thing no matter what. It just say that you logged something. So I kind of wanted in some way to like give you more of a sense of the periods in the cycle of your own cycle, and then also giving you kind of a view into the future, so you can, when you're planning something, you can like have a look and see, you know, if should it be that weekend or the next weekend, or should it, what should I focus on this week, like where should I be, am I more like extroverted and social, and should I do sales meetings, or should I plan more of a introspective kind of working on my focus sessions alone for that week? So that's what I want. We're not there
Yeah.
yet, but that's what I want.
Yeah, and I think that's a bit of a different mission than the other apps are on.
Hmm.
So they have more focused on the more technical things like that day this happens, and also maybe the self-love, self-devotion thing. And your approach is much more practical and useful in my opinion. So you can use it to plan your life around your menstrual cycle. I don't think plan is the ideal word maybe, but to be able to live better because you know you can predict your cycle better or something.
More. I'm also writing in my notes here if that's more practical.
But useful is very good because that's what you initially. No, that was something else maybe.
No, I've always been more intrigued by making useful applications and tools. So useful has always been something that has interested me. And now, like, I'm also now interested in like the craftsmanship of coding, and I do stuff that are just to explore and learn. But I've always been more motivated of making useful applications than just making something because it looks good or it should sell a lot of stuff. Like, I mean, 90% of websites out there are just there to sell stuff, like this page. But so I've always been more
Yeah.
interested in creating kind of useful web applications, and that's what I've done as a consultant as well. And that gives me, yeah, I think that is what's interesting personally as well, that things are useful. um
I
and
have
to
a
everyone
question.
watching, a lot of the other apps are actually there to take your data and sell it to advertisement brokers
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that
yeah.
they
Let's
can
not get
sell you stuff
let's not get
in the
kicked off of
correct
YouTube.
part of
For the third time.
again.
But I have a question. I have a question for you, Tor, because I wouldn't say I read it, but I kind of looked through that the slow book with your customer Carl Honoré, and I'm thinking, so from that perspective, from kind of not his but your perspective of slow here, um, um, uh, uh, if this was kind of, if this POW was kind of your part of your package with your stuff you're doing, what would be the benefit your customers would get from it? What would be the ideal benefit for you then in that context?
Ooh, that's an interesting perspective. Mm, and also very relevant, I think, because I think I could use POW with my customers when we do planning,
Yeah,
both yearly planning and looking at when are you at max capacity, when do you have more creative energy, and just looking at the yearly plan together with your menstrual cycle and see if you find any overlap to that you can utilize to get a strong start on projects or finish up things. I'm not a kind of a woo-woo person, but I do think that this is very down to earth and just a nice way to plan. But then I think the benefit would be that you can be or listen more to yourself and what your body craves as well as your mind, and not let your mind override your body and your menstrual cycle and what your body needs, because that's of course speaks strongly to us and more strongly in some days of the week and month than others, right?
yeah,
Yes,
Like
because
Benedict has
I do.
always been like, I don't do planning these days because then I will like over plan my entire
yeah.
year.
Yeah, because I have weeks where I definitely have more of that energy where I'm like conquer the world type energy. And
Yeah.
that's when I suddenly sign up to do live streams every Monday as well, like I did at the beginning of this year. And it's like, that is
Yeah.
not, that's not going to hold
It's very
for,
sustainable.
it's not sustainable at all. It was very sustainable that week and the next week. And then of course it wasn't anymore. But yeah, definitely like I plan my, and this is like also for the non-menstruators and listening now. It's like it's often we often get an urge to plan, or I think a lot of people get an urge to plan when they have high energy, because it's like, well, now I'm finally gonna like clean the house and like write
Yeah.
those lists and like plan the project, and then you plan it as that energy will always be there, and then a couple of weeks later you are
Mageplask.
not work yeah mageplask, where you're just like clashing into your plan, and you're like, well, I can't keep up that kind of hour, and it's, you might still have those hours for that week, but you're not getting as much done in those hours because your energy is low. And when we work for ourselves, we don't really have to max the hour. Like we, it's no point in sitting there for 8 hours if you're just gonna have the energy that you're gonna have that you can do in 3 or 4 hours, and then maybe go enjoy yourself or like take care of yourself. So yeah, it's definitely Definitely, it would be fun if somebody in the chat, like non-menstruators, if they experience the same kind of planning high or whatever you could call it.
But it's also interesting how the partner of the menstruating woman feels about this,
Yeah.
and how living with a woman affects your own. I mean, it's a hormone exchange between people living together.
Okay.
Also women living together, not
Yeah.
just a man and a woman. So yeah, it affects men as well, or partners as well.
So you mean like
Definitely.
biologically?
Yes, biologically.
I don't know how this works in practice, but I've read that, or Benedict has told me, I don't know, that if you have, for example, women together in living in a collective,
Yes.
Yeah.
living together, the menstruation cycles will often coordinate themselves, so
Yeah.
everyone menstruates at the same time.
Yeah.
So obviously something is happening when people are physically together, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's yeah.
But does it affect men too? This
Well, my
because
nurse, they've
if you know what I'm saying.
they've done very little research on it. So
Yeah.
my nurse friend said that there was some new research showing that men living with women have less hair growth
Yeah.
than men living without women. So obviously there are some things happening biologically with the hormones exchange in a household or in an air if people live
That could be many
together.
reasons.
There could be many reasons. So, but that is like one hypothesis. And since we all know, even though it's not that well researched, that women synchronize, then it would be
Yeah.
weird that this doesn't affect anyone else in the household,
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
menstruators in the household. Yeah, my mother always tells the story that they were 3 women and then 2 men in their family, and it always came as julekvällar på kärringa. Kärringa, is that the wording? Like Christmas Eve on the housewife or something is a Norwegian saying where it's like come as a surprise, came as something like that. But anyway, and so he would always like be. My grandfather would always end up at the store down the road, like buying a lot of products because there were 3 women who all of a sudden surprisingly needed tampons at the same time. And that was his job, going down to the local store to get that for everyone. So yeah.
But
But
I
I
can
think
say
you're
from
onto something with the
yeah
planning, though,
planning.
with the sales
Back to the
copy. I
planning.
think it's
Yeah.
a good, yeah, I think it's a good way to go, that you can improve your life through planning according to your menstrual cycle.
Mhm.
But use words normal people use.
Words normal people use.
I like
Oh,
this.
we're an hour and a half. I like this. I will put the timestamp into where we start having this discussion for people who don't want to see me mucking around with the tests. That was kind of boring, but I hope somebody learned something from the test as well.
So back to the slow thing then, because it's cool. It's cool with like life, but I like the work life thing because like we were talking about, there are so many differences here between everything. But
Yeah.
a lot of women, they have the same problems in the workplace.
Let's call it challenges.
No, not in marketing. It's a problem and a pain in marketing. So they have this.
I'm
At
not
least
going to say what I'm thinking at the moment.
at least it's this similar, non-related to this at all. It's just I wouldn't call it oppression, but let's call it oppression.
Be careful now, Ulla, before you put your foot in your mouth.
No, I do that all the time. So let's call it oppression then. So you are in a kind of hostile.
We're going down a dangerous path there.
Yeah, you're kind of in a hostile environment. If you have if you have like a normal job, but also like you say, when you work alone and you have all these expectations that come from I think it's
within
wrong to say it's a male culture, but it's an anti-female culture. I wouldn't call it
an
male because
anti-slow. Yeah.
it's not that good for us either. But my point is that a lot of the challenges, maybe not everybody has the same, but it's a set of challenges, and you're within the range there. Some of them hit everybody, and then some have like they're okay. You're out, you have something, but I feel it is more predictable with the work life because um, people's like outside of work lives can be so different and cultures and everything, but in the work life, and especially in our neck of the woods, web developers, it's a
Yeah.
lot of the same challenges. And Benedicta showed me research before, and a friend of mine who works in HR, he says that okay, if we have good systems and processes and we actually implement research-based processes, then it's good for non-white. We get more non-white. For example, he does hiring, more
Mm.
non-white leaders, more female leaders, because we find the best candidates.
Because
So if
there's
you
a
can,
system in place and
so
it's
if you have
not
a
like
system
something.
that works well for a web developer for actually doing the job, then that will also work better for women.
Yeah, let's solve
So,
diversity with our app.
no, I'm not. I don't want to do
Let's
it.
solve everything with that.
No, because my
Just
point
like
is
Pow, the app that solves everything.
because
Like
I'm
instead of
every
sorry, I cut
problem.
you off, Ola,
it's
but you have to wrap it up.
okay, instead of trying to solve the problem from the systematic thing that my HR guy tries, then the individuals can see, okay, the system is kind of screwing with me here and here and here and here, and then I can kind of, yeah, call it planning, but try to make it fit more into my thing. If we could use power for that in a way.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
We can use POW to supercharge, like that the book that is like use your cycle for like excelled excellence or whatever.
Oh, I'm thinking more tricking the system so that you can actually kind of do your job,
Get
basically.
do your job and
The
get the
app
life you
that
want.
gives you superpowers.
Yeah, superpowers, okay.
Superpowers.
Ooh, ooh.
Yes.
But it kind of does give you superpowers because you know when you have what kind of power.
Yeah.
When you have the power to hibernate and when you have the power to take on the world.
Yeah, I've used POW when I was doing I traveled and traveled with work and I couldn't decide when we traveled, but I would look at it and plan how I would engage when I was planning because I get more hungover in
Mhm.
certain times of the cycle, and this was a very drink heavy environment, but there were no pressure on the drinking, so I would look at the app and be like, okay, well, on this trip I will like not drink as much even if offered, and I will like leave the group before gets too late and like there is more drinking because I know that I will not be able to do the workshop tomorrow if I do that. But in other times of the cycle, like I can go to the bar and stay late and drink with both hands and still do the workshop the next day because I don't have a migraine, which in the first case I would have a migraine and I should like, or not 100%, but there's a higher chance, and then I don't want to risk it in a work situation. So I've used it for
So
that kind of planning.
that's so cool. So it kind of you used POW to give you data on what your intuition told you.
Yes. But
Hmm.
also sometimes it's not just that, because sometimes it's a little, my intuition is lagging or my like knowledge of my body is lagging. So
Yeah.
I'll drink and then wake up and then I'll be like,
Oh
yes, of
yeah.
course I got a migraine now because it's that, but it's like it happens before. So yeah, so I kind of, when looking at it, it was easier to like, oh yeah, recall that this will happen, and then your mic is off again, Toril, if you didn't mean to. But yeah, and but yeah, I should probably just listen to my intuition better. But some of us has
But you
are
can
not
kind
that
of
connected to our intuition.
you can yeah, you can fast forward You can use POW to fast forward to get the information you need.
Yeah.
So you kind of collect all your previous experiences, and then you can get that when you actually need the information and not 24 hours too late.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think that's
Then
a
you-
great selling point.
It's yeah,
I want
I
that.
like it.
Yeah.
Yes. So this is like one of the features I really want, is that I want to be able to subscribe to my cycle inside of my calendar. But since this
Oh.
is a privacy first application, like we have to do that in a mindful way, and also it has to be up to the user, how much do you want to share. But I don't trust Google, but I'm also not in a position where it's really that scary that Google's get hands of my data. But with POW, since you're also using your own words, you could kind of just subscribe to your cycle, and it doesn't have to tell Google anything about, like, it could just be like color coded or whatever, or like emojis or whatever that comes into your Google Calendar that and then you can plan alongside your other planning, but you don't give them like full access to your data. And this annoys me with the other apps. Like, they're already selling my data. Could I not can I not get it out for like purposes that I need when you're already
Make it
selling
useful
my
for
data?
me.
like make it
Stop.
useful for me as well. Like, yeah. So that's something I would like to do, that where you can like create a calendar that you can subscribe to. But I'm making it hard for myself because date and time is the hardest thing we do in software. On the podcast I do this week, I think our whole session was done on that because of my co-host had some issues with that. But if it's worth making, then I'll find a way to do it.
I think that's genius, both the color coding, but also that you can use your own words. Because this is messaging from you to yourself. So that's the whole point here, that you can give yourself kind and very timely messages about how was this last time you had this day in your cycle, or how did you experience it. And women that have experienced irregularities in their cycles now after the vaccine, they have openly talked about how things have changed. But in POW, you can talk to yourself about how things was and how they are now, and kind of have this conversation with yourself, your previous self.
Yeah. And then you could, maybe you could leave
your
little
future self
kind message. Maybe you can leave little kind messages to yourself instead of these. For that's one also thing that annoys me with some of these things, is that they have like messaging for me, which is very like cutesy and like pink, and everything clinical. Is like, either clinical or kind of like, give yourself some chocolate, you deserve your female power and blah. I don't know, I don't like it. But as you said, like, if POW is more about that conversation with yourself, then I could leave myself messages and encouragement that I like, instead of some copywriter, which we are going to have on the front page
for long.
But then it's not the app's copywriting, it's my own writing that tells me or gives me the encouragement I need, instead of some kind of bland Instagram quote that is not really what I need.
Maybe that's like main benefit number 2.
Yeah.
After planning your life around your cycle.
What is?
Talk to yourself.
Have a conversation with yourself.
Yeah.
But in a kind way.
Help your future self.
Well, we can't force people to be kind, but we can encourage. We can encourage them to be kind, maybe. Anyway, this is a very interesting conversation.
Yes.
How do we relate it back to Gatsby?
We don't have to.
We don't have to.
This is about selling apps now.
Yes.
So I have a totally different perspective, but it's the same kind of, with messaging and kindness and stuff. Instead of kind of pushing the data out, you could request it in your calendar, so you can kind of go into your calendar and you can like, okay, I got this stuff. My mother-in-law has a birthday here, and okay, 3 days before I'm gonna know something, and and uh, and then you wouldn't actually it wouldn't actually be dangerous to give that to Google, because that's just one data point that's coming out, and it's actually related to the event in the calendar, not your private data. And also I could do the same. I could kind of have requests,
To the Queen.
yeah, I can send in requests for data. So how is it going to be, blah blah blah. I don't know. I don't have any specific ideas about it, but yeah, because that's how we do a lot with computers. It's not that the computer just talks to me and tells me, do this, do that, be nice to yourself, blah blah blah. I ask the computer, and then the computer kind of sends me stuff. Yeah.
You're thinking pull instead of push, I guess, is the thing there, where you can pull pull the data you want out, and not just push everything out into
but just
other
one thing.
systems.
Just ask for one thing. You don't need like data even. You just ask for one thing and then kind of get an answer. No, don't do that. Or stay in your loft. Don't come down.
That is something that has been said in this household.
Yes. It's much better. It's much better to know it than to come down, like you say, with a lag. You come down and you're like, yep, I shouldn't have come down. That's obvious. I'm going up.
It's a dragon in the kitchen.
Yeah. Oh.
It's not the Queen. It's her.
Yeah.
I should get one of those dragons that could just like stay at the bottom of the stairs, and then when it breathes fire, you just stay in the loft, and when it doesn't breathe fire, we can hook that up to the app.
A small IKEA one that you can, like a hand doll, like.
But you can actually do that. You can have like actual lighting and stuff with like physical signals. It's like,
I mean, if we hook power up to Zapier, you can hook it up to anything.
I can start climbing down the stairs from my loft, and it's like yellow light, yellow light. Oh, okay, I'm going up.
Click.
I'm going up, and then I can send a message to the app.
I don't think I need POW for this. I think I need one of those anyways. Like, I don't know if it's only cycle specific. I need one of those lights at the, like when I'm recording podcast, it should be like a big red "Do not come down" in the loft stairs.
So cycle specific life advice from yourself.
Yes.
Just in time.
Just in time. That is very lean.
That's very lean.
Cycle specific. What was it? Cycle specific.
But as I said, don't use my words. Use a normal person's words.
Because you're not normal.
I don't think anyone says cycle specific except Benedicta and me.
Well,
borrow that from Benedicta.
Yeah. I am actually, so I've done the thing that you're supposed to do when developing products, is that I am now in all the communities. I'm just on like I just created an account on Reddit. I haven't been on Reddit before, which is like an weird thing since I've been in this space for so long, in the like digital technical space. But anyway, so I'm now in our menstruation and our Gatsby. Those are the two communities I attend.
Two relevant ones.
At Reddit, my two relevant ones. And then also on Facebook, I'm in like several groups just to do that thing that copywriters said that you should do, like listen to how people talk about the problem space and not how I talk about the problem space. And I'll try to note down some ways people are phrasing these questions.
And not the features of the product. It's more about the benefits that the user gains from them. So if you hear people talking about being grumpy, being stressed out, being a dragon, then you can put those words into the I called it the hook, like the first thing you write on the sales page. I can't see it here now, but It said
It's because I wanted to look at
take
you,
charge of your
lovely
menstrual
faces.
cycle. that's
There we go.
that's so kind of you. To
I
say
think
on
maybe
my
this
first
one.
YouTube
No,
live stream.
I think this one is like more on the note. Like this is the last section, selling section, and I think this is more in tune with what we've been talking about today.
Yeah.
Which is like, when should I book those sales meeting, and knowledge is power. And then I have a little personal story here, because I felt it was too weird to say that you have those, like talking to that you, because it's so personal. I ended up like making it about me instead.
Yeah. Yeah, but everyone can relate to that.
Yeah.
I find that if I'm writing a sales page and I want to talk about the problem, it's very useful to talk about myself or some people or someone. And then when you get down to the more like salesy parts, like the benefits, then it's most effective to talk about you. So you can book sales meetings on the day you feel most powerful, and you can take a day off or go home early on the day where you feel most exhausted, and you can save yourself asking for a divorce on that day next month. And you
Yeah,
can
that goes
ask for
under the
ice cream.
drastic changes.
Right?
Do not make any drastic changes when you are feeling like, I'm going to remove it again so I can see you. I think the princess has to sleep because it's almost 9 o'clock. We've been like almost an hour
She
more
doesn't
than
want
we
to
usually
sleep.
do.
She want to stay up all night.
Well, I'm not saying she wants to. I'm saying she should. But I should also probably do a summary of the coding like we usually do, so people can have some. Oh, Krister just sent off his funding application. Good luck to you.
Oh,
is that for the ice cream? Is that for the ice cream game, Krister? If you're still around, let us know. He might have left already, but
no, they make a focus session with him.
Huh?
Yes,
we just
you
didn't
should come
know.
in. We had a focus session with Krister. He was having, he had us kind of supporting him while he was doing his funding application, like we do on Tuesdays and Thursdays and Mondays.
Yeah. We just take 10%, Krister. No worries.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, he said it's for the ice cream boat game. So that is for it is it's a moose that sells ice cream in the Scandinavian kind of island scenery.
Ooh.
Cool. And I think there are more animals also, more mooses.
I think there are some more animals. The last game was a strawberry in a forest, and there were some blueberries and other things happening.
But a moose, not a mouse.
Yes, a moose.
A moose and a boat. This is even more interesting.
It's like, skärgårdsjeep.
Yeah.
That's at least the last one I saw. And the moose is riding around in the skärgårdsjeep. And he's like, when I saw them coding and, showing it off, it wasn't like, coming here. It was like he just went up on the beach like this. Like a D-Day.
Well, I think they showed some.
Kept running over to get ice cream, Yeah.
I think they showed us some clips before they've done the rendering of how the moose is supposed to stand on the boat. So it was kind of just like kind of half laying on the boat, driving around, because they haven't done that part of the game yet.
And another time they were making cabins down by the water, and I sent photos of Benedicte's cabin down by the water, and I think I told some real piratey stories about, because there are some actual pirates living in the village there. Yeah. But I don't think they got into the game.
Okay, I moved you over. Let's have a look at our code. I'll try and do some summary. I don't even remember what I did an hour and a half ago.
Something about children and toddlers.
There's something about that is true. There was something about children and toddlers. So I think now I've actually run the application. So this is probably the intro I should have done in the beginning. I was running very late. So sometimes we have Neil here in the chat asking for an actual explanation of what we're doing. He's a teacher, so he's good at keeping me on my toes like that. But what we are working on is replacing this usepow.app marketing site from Squarespace to Gatsby, and Ola has been working on that, and we are at this stage. As you can see here, your private data knowledge is always power or something. It's like there's some content from here. But what I wanted to do today is that I wanted to make sure that if the data is not correct, this page doesn't just break and just error out. Like, it should be pretty lenient. So this is the page title, and then it's the page content that it's just a test, and then it's a section title, and then it's section content, and then it's a CTA, a call to action. And if we have a look at how that looks in our content file, it looks like this. It's a title, and then we have the sections, and then we can create several sections. So this is a very well formatted section. It has a title, it has a body that comes from another file, and it has a call to action. But what happens then if something is wrong? So to make sure that this works properly, we added tests today. So I created, these files are very long, a markdown remark fields dash or underscore like test file after following the Gatsby unit testing tutorial. And in here, I wanted to make sure. So the first test we made is what's called a snapshot test. And then we are just kind of using our page component. We're not giving it any data, but we want it to work. And it then takes a kind of a picture of the structure of that component that will be compared to the next time we run the test. So when Ola adds styling to this site, or I add styling, the snapshot will update. But then we can say, okay, that is a change we wanted to see, so it's okay. But for now, we want it to look exactly like this. And then I did the same thing with data, which is also a snapshot test. But then we got into the more intricate details, where we wanted to check that it's actually rendering what we expect it to render. And with testing, like, you don't want to test everything. You want to test like some things here and there, and you get better at it with practice. I am not an expert on this yet, but what I often do is that I make some tests to begin with what I want, like some things I want to happen and some things I don't want to happen, and make sure that both of these things, those tests go through. And then whenever there's a bug, so let's say in 4 or 5 weeks, when there's some kind of bug with these sections, then I add a test to make sure that that bug never comes back. So that's a way you could do testing as well. Instead of saying like 100% test coverage for everything, you can start writing tests for bugs when they start showing up. So we do a test here where we send in some data, and then I check to see if there's actually headings there of the type H2, and then we check to see if it's the correct content. But then more interestingly, I want to make sure that it works when there's invalid data. So here there is no call to action. In this one, there is no body. And then in this one, there's no body, and there's a like weird CTA. It doesn't have a path. There's no like place to link. There's just a label. And then we make sure that in section 3, we're not getting any links because it's malformed. So we just leave it out. We don't make a big deal out of it. We just leave it out. And then we make sure that in section 2, there is actually a correct link. And then we do some of the similar tests that we did above that I might remove now because this should be a negative test. But anyway, it's too late for that. So that's what we did today. And we used React Test Renderer that is new to me, but is recommended by Gatsby. And I usually just do what they recommend because then it's easier to find documentation. So until I have any reason not to, I will keep using that test library to test the React components. I think that's it. And then after that, we had a lengthy talk about the marketing copy for POW.
But did you say why? Did you say why you did this?
No, of course. The why the why. Well, I think I touched on it so that we can make sure that down the line, when we add more features and more section types, it won't break. Like if Ola does anything work down the line, he might inadvertently do something that breaks the functionality that is already there, and then these tests will catch that, and or he will then have to change the test, or I will have to change the test for that new way of doing things. So it's to make sure that we don't break anything down the line without having to manually test everything all the time. So
I think that's so meta. It's like that's why the app exists. So to make sure you don't break anything down the line.
that's true.
Yes.
That's a good one. Yes. But for then it's the same with the app. Like you can overdo it. Like if you write a test for absolutely everything, then whenever you do a tiny change, you have to change all the tests. Like some things you might not need to log in POW, and some things you might not need to test. You have to like figure out those things that actually matter, and then test those things or log those things. Because we don't want to be one of those hustle bros that log like their whole freaking
5
life
times a day.
Yeah, where like the only thing they do is log, like how many hours did they sleep, like how many calories did they eat, how many minutes did they run, and how many minutes did they meditate, and how many. It's like live your life also.
Not log it.
And that's the same thing with tests. Like you also have to move the product forward. You can't just sit and make sure that your tests are beautiful. I guess that's it.
Very wise.
And that and Lillian will do our. And also in the summary, check out. And what was the URL? Is it created, or what is the URL for the creative? First, is it slow?
Yeah.
What's the?
Can you see the URL? No.
No, because you're sharing. It's
hidden. Where is it?
You can't share. You can't share it in the chat, Toril, because the chat will remove URLs.
Links. Yeah,
links.
Wait, but I don't think I did something stupid here, so I can't share the URL here either.
Yeah, you're probably sharing the tab, and then it doesn't show the URL.
I am, but it says here fjellflyt.no/creative-fears.
Yeah, you can actually just visit the main website and it will take you there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Check out the description below, everyone.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
And remember to like
if you want to hang out with Benedict and me.
Yes. If you want to hang out with
all the time.
all the time, every week, every Monday and Friday, and a couple of times in between, then you want to check this out, and you can check it out in the link in the description below. And Christer already found it, so
thank you.
Okay, are you doing the outro, Ola? Oh, I meant to do this. You're muted. I should probably like fill this silence, but I don't.
Jeg er ferdig nå.
Skal du ikke spille, Lillian?
1, 2, 3. This has been another unauthorized and rum-fueled treasure hunt. Du må holde opp. In the sharky waters around the Gatsby Islands with Queen Raae. I'm Captain. Yeah, I'm your host. Captain Olavia. Remember to smash that like button, friends. Today's guest is the great and powerful Toril.
Woohoo!
Ferdig nå? Er det ferdig?